Welcome back to my channel, Starbooze.
The WNBA's most fouled rookie in history was Caitlin Clark. Players with experience attacked her as if she had stolen something. She soon discovered that here college prominence wasn't important. Their goal was to shatter her. However, rather than everyone was astonished by what she did, she totally changed her body, and the world was astounded by what they saw when they saw the results. This is the vicious tale they wish to keep you in the dark. She was born in Des Moines, Iowa, on January 22, 2002. Caitlin Elizabeth Clark was her name. Out of her 3 siblings, she was the middle child. That position is correct. Between a younger brother and an older brother would influence every aspect of her life. Life had been a contest from the start. She was at home in West Des Moines, constantly struggling to stay ahead, to succeed, to prove anything. Her parents, Brent and Dan, was unaware that one day the girl will change the course of sports history by bouncing a basketball around the house. Caitlin's father was a collegiate baseball and basketball player. Her grandfather was a football coach. It was in the blood to do sports. However, Caitlin wasn't only athletic, winning was her obsession. She was able to dribble even at the age of 5. For years she had been doing it. Whether it was a board game or a school project made no difference. She desired victory. Always. That fire never subsided and occasionally became unmanageable. During a fight, she once threw her brother against a wall. His head broke open. So many fights like that have to be broken up by their mother. Her skill set extended beyond basketball. Actually, initially, it wasn't even about basketball. In just 6 football games, she scored 26 goals. Games in high school. Her coach thought she could have played soccer in Division I. She participated in volleyball as well. She played golf, softball, tennis, and the piano. Caitlin had the option to basketball was more important than everything else. When she was younger, there was no girls' league began. Thus, her father placed her in a males' league. Just to be on, she had to battle the court. It strengthened her. She had joined the Iowa group by 6th grade. Assault the Ames AAOU team. Everything altered as a result. Despite only being 13, she already competing with elder females. She took a step back 3 times, according to one coach, and then launching a well-aimed pass that went unnoticed. According to the same instructor, most children would choose as cream following a victory. That didn't matter to Caitlin. All she wanted to do was play, work harder, and achieve more success. That was the beginning of it all. When she stunned everyone as a student at Dowling Catholic High School. Caitlin scored 60 points in a single game on February 4, 2019. She lost 25, made 13 3-pointers in the first quarter alone. In Iowa's history, that was the highest. Even after that, the other team's student section waited in line to sign autographs. At the end of her sophomore year, she was the state's highest scorer. She repeated it the next year. Her senior year average was 3.4.8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 points, and about 3 steals per game. She finished 4th all-time in Iowa with a career total of 2,547 points. She broke the most 3-pointers made record. On the 25th of February 2019, she received a score of 4.2. PTS in a state tournament victory in Triple OT that season. She guided Dowling Catholic to a 19-4 record. She was recognized as the Gatorade Player of the Year, Miss Iowa Basketball, and more, Iowa Athlete of the Year. By that time, her basketball career was already legendary. Then November 25th arrived, 2020. The stands were almost deserted. Co had managed to keep the supporters away, but it was unable to prevent attention from focusing on Caitlin Clark, a freshman, who is 18 years old. That evening in Carver, Iowa at Hawkeye Arena, a memorable event occurred. Caitlin's score slipped by 27, hit 58% from the field, pulled down 8 rebounds, and had 4 assists. From the opening possession, she dominated the game. Although it was her first time, she was already the floor's best player. There was also a statement from her defense. 3 robberies demonstrated her ability she could break up plays as readily as she could create them. That evening's colleagues, Kate Martin, Gabby Marshall. Years later, Monicano would run for a national title alongside McKenna Warrow. However, on that, Caitlin Clark was evidently Iowa basketball's future on the opening night. Simply, she did something even more unusual 4 weeks later. In a game on December 2, and she achieved her first triple-double of the season against Western Illinois. 13 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists were recorded, and she did. It was only 3 of 15 from the field on a poor shooting night. However, rather than she adjusted, giving up, she concentrated on creating play. Her last help, the one that came from a deft pass to Logan Cook inside the paint to complete the triple-double. Such a performance hadn't been spotted at Iowa since Samantha Logic's last triple in 2015, twice. Coach Lisa Bluer was aware of the rarity of what she was witnessing. She dialed triple-doubly exceptional and stated that they don't occur frequently. However, Caitlin managed to occur within the first month of her collegiate basketball career. Caitlin's response to the question was even more remarkable than our statistics. I basically wanted to motivate others because I wasn't shooting the ball well. It isn't a freshman. Attitude. That person is a leader. Then February 11th arrived. Caitlin Enterud took the building's single-game scoring record with them when they left Nebraska's home stadium. She scored 39 points, pulled down 10 rebounds, and dished out 7 assists. She made 12 out of 18. From the ground. From the free throw line, she was flawless. She completed everything. She bore Nebraska from all sides. Additionally, she had passed by the game's conclusion. 600 points for the season. In history only. 4 other Iowa players had accomplished that. However, this was not a single sweltering evening. Caitlin was in charge of the whole. She was only a freshman, but she led the country in scoring. No one in a Division I had previously done it. Not one male or female freshman. She was prior to the Nebraska game. They averaged 29.8 points. She wasn't simply burning. The fire was her. She had changed the record books by the end of the season. Her final score was 799 points from 30 games, 26.6 points per game. That is, not a single freshman has ever accumulated more points in a season, not only in Iowa, but across the nation. She took the lead. Division I as a whole in scoring. She was the leader in points overall, points per game, and she finished second in assists per game, field goals made, and three-pointers made. Game. She was making threes at an unprecedented pace, not just shooting them in 30 games. She made 116 three-pointers, almost for every game. That is, that had never completed by a first-year student. She scored at least 30 points in 12 games. That had not occurred since the year 2000. Additionally, she broke the freshman scoring record for Iowa and concluded with the third highest point total in program history during a single season. Megan Gustafson was the only one with a higher score. Additionally, that occurred in her last years, not first for her. Not only did she earn Freshman of the Year in the Big Ten, she was in charge of the award circuit. Throughout the season, she received 23 Big Ten awards. 13 times she was the week's top freshman. She won Player of the Week 5 times. The first of a freshman to do that. She made the first team for all of the Big Ten, and not by chance. Coaches and the media unanimously selected her. She and Paige Bucker of UConn split the National Freshman of the Year honor. She became the first Hawkeye as a result, the recipient of the National Freshman of the Year award. She scored 27.7 points on average, and Big Ten play averages 6.6 assists per game. She received at least 30 points in 9 conferences. Games, also scored more than 20 in 8 more. Her performance didn't only earn headlines, bringing Iowa back into the national picture. The group arrived to reach the NCAA tournament's Sweet 16 and the Big Ten tournament final. They made their third appearance in 4 years, and their 8th overall in the Sweet 16. In 2021, Caitlin Clark, a sophomore, did something that nobody in women's basketball in Division I had never done this before. She was the nation's leader in both assists and goals. She averaged 8 assists, 27 points, and 8 rebounds every game. Most athletes aren't even able to lead in one area. Clark led in 2 simultaneously. It had never been balanced like that. The scorers were intended to score. Passers were expected to make it through. However, Caitlin Clark disregarded THOSA regulations. She did everything. People were genuinely surprised by more than just the number of she scored points. It was the number of assists she received while performing it, leading in assists per game with 8, that upended all preconceived notions about basketball roles. Defenders concentrated thing about her. It made no difference if there were 2 or 3 teams. She continued to weave improbable passes, discovered teammates unguarded and positioned them as though nothing. Her ability to pass was sometimes even more remarkable than her ability to score. As if she had eyes in the back of her mind. She guessed defenses, and their guesses were invariably incorrect. The pressure increased along with her stats. Other teams went rough because they realized they couldn't stop her with traditional defense. They pulled on her jersey, bumped her, and shoved her. A few guards forced their boundaries of what was even permitted. Coaches created whole game strategies, purely for the sake of wearing she's down. Shot after shot, possession after possession. Nevertheless, she continued to moving. She resurfaced stronger each time they attempted to knock her down. It was no longer only skill. Grit was the substance. They couldn't match her mental tenacity. Take a break. In the midst of all of this, something more significant began to take shape. Suddenly, Iowa basketball was being watched nationwide. Not only everyone, not only Big Ten enthusiasts, but local fans. TV viewership increased. News teams began to fly. The games are sold out. She not only encouraged her group, but she altered entire sport. People watched because they were curious about her next move. And her actions never let me down. Everything blew up by 2023. Iowa hadn't since 1993 reached the Final Four. On March 26th, it changed when Caitlin, the 30-year drought was ended by Clark. She dominated rather than merely led. She earned 191 points during the competition. It's not a typo. 191. She averaged more over 30 per game. It wasn't just her either. Her co-workers Mick and Monica Warrow, they all took the initiative. Everyone was at their best because of Clark. Additionally, when she had not yet reached the Final Four. During the Elite Eight match against Louisville, she scored a triple-double with 41 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists and 41 points. That had never been accomplished in the history of the NCAA for either men or women. It was her 11th triple-double. However, this one felt unique. She made deep threes. She drove through throngs of people. Like a magician, she got by. She gave the impression that it was simple. Even she managed to dominate when triple-teamed. The statistic that stood out of Iowa's 97 points, she either scored or assisted on 70 of them. South Carolina followed. The 36-duration, undefeated reigning champions nobody thought they would lose. However, Clark once more stunned the globe on March 31st. 8 assists, 41 more points, 6 rebounds. In the fourth quarter, she either scored or assisted on every single point. That game completely changed the season in reverse. For 42 games, South Carolina had not lost. Then coquetted her confidence, her crisp cuts, and her trademark threes. It left even the scrambling is the nation's finest defense. In 2023, on April 2nd, Caitlin Clark stood. She was only one game away from realizing all of her childhood dreams. The national championship, the final word. But heartbreak marred what ought to have been the high point of her illustrious collegiate career. Iowa was defeated by 100-285 at LSU. Although it appeared that LSU would win easily on paper, the reality was a lot more difficult to accept. To get her team there, Clark had endured everything. Days earlier, she dropped to advance to the championship game with consecutive 41-point performances. In that last, she broke a championship record set in 1990 by making 8 three-pointers during the game. Even if she scored 30 points, it still wasn't sufficient. Her expression said it all as the buzzer sounded. Despite her best efforts, her dream eluded her. Then her senior year. Anyone who believed that she would be slowed down by the loss was mistaken. February, the night that everything changed, was the 15th of 2024. Iowa played. Clark in Michigan only required 8 points to surpass Kelsey Plum's record for most NCAA points scored, which was 3,527. She made a deep three from the logo 2 minutes into the game. The audience went crazy. She became the top scorer in NCAA women's history with a shot. However, she didn't end there. She let up 49 points, the most Iowa had ever allowed in a game. She also contributed 5 assists and 13 bounces back. In her 126th game, faster than Plum's 139, she accomplished everything that she scored. 3,569 points overall that evening. She had become legendary. However, she wasn't done yet. Against Ohio State on March 3, 2024, in a crowded arena, a 54-year-old record was the target of Clark's pursuit. Pete Maravich scored 3,667 points, the most ever in Division I, to pass him. Clark needed 17 more. The average cost of tickets was $598. The whole nation was observing. Late at night, she made a free throw in the first half. She became the highest-scoring player in NCAA basketball history with just 1 point. Men saw those of women. She hardly responded. She was completely unaware of what she had done until a riot broke out. She scored 35 points by the end of the game. It was formally recognized Pete had lost his record. Caitlin Clark was now alone herself at on top. Perhaps just as memorable, though, was what transpired off the court. The Fox Something That Has Never Been Done Before was introduced by Sports. They produced a live video feed that was all about her name, Caitlin Cam. It tracked her every offensive motion while streaming on TikTok. It was more than simply athletics. It was a moment of culture. All throughout the nation, her performances were sold out. TV ratings plummeted. Documents. Suddenly, people who had never seen a women's game before became enthralled. Quick passes, deep threes, that intense glare. She had a magnetic personality. She wasn't merely playing hoops. She appeared to have done everything. But then she did something unexpected. No one had ever done so in history. Against Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament final, she may have given her best performance to yet. 30 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 rebounds. A triple-double during the championship match. The first time in history that the championship of the Big Ten. Furthermore, this triple-double wasn't your typical one. Not another player had scored 30 points and dished out 15 assists in a single game during the last 2 decades. She did it stylishly, shooting over and making 5 three-pointers, 52% in the field. Her 10th career triple-double was a masterclass. In history, only one woman possessed more. Now that everyone was watching her, she went back to the NCAA competition. Everyone was aware of the stakes. Never before had Iowa won a women's national championship. The previous year, Clark had been so near. This was her finale. She brought that burden with her to every match. Next comes the rematch. What everyone wanted occurred. In the Final Four, UConn met Iowa. For the initial, UConn locked her down for half an hour. However, Clark took over when the game was tied in the fourth quarter. 7 points in 2.5 an hour. Iowa prevailed 71-69. Her score was 21. She is partnered with Hannah Stuelke. 23 was added. Among the greatest college games ever played was this one. That victory placed Iowa Ning to the national championship. According to Caitlin Clark, on April 15, 2024, the Indiana Fever selected him first overall. It was expected, everybody and it, however, nobody could have foreseen the impact. As of right now, she was the top scorer in NCAA Division I history. For both, she had broken records. Scores in one season and assists in another. However, once she signed with the WNBA, the pressure only increased. The excitement surrounding her blew up. She received over 700,000. She received the most All-Star votes ever during her debut season. Her jersey turned to become Thessals up more than 1,000%, making it the league's best-selling product. Everywhere she performed, the audience came after. When she played in games, attendance increased by 88%. They referred to it as though the effect of Caitlin Clark. It was unlike anything the league had ever seen, yet this spotlight had a price. Her May 14, 2024, debut didn't go as expected. She had more turnovers than any other player in a WNBA debut. Despite scoring 20 points, it was war, not nerves. She was targeted by seasoned players who were determined to make she must earn her spot. During a game versus Chicago, Kennedy slammed her. Carter struck so hard in an off-ball that it was deemed a flagrant foul. There was no discussion at the end of the season. She was named the year's rookie with 66 out of 67 votes went to the top. Angel Reese received a lone additional vote. Additionally, she earned the WNBA first team, a feat that has only been accomplished by 5 rookies since 2000. She had more points, assists, steals, and minutes than any other rookie. The numbers were honest. She was more than simply the top rookie. She was among the league's top players for a period. Then Arveth prizes. She was selected Rookie of the Year by the Associated Press, Time magazine in December 2024. She was named Athlete of the Year. 1.8 million people watched her first playoff game, the biggest since 2000. She changed the game, not simply played it. However, behind the scenes, another tale existed. Caitlin began dating Connor McCaffrey in April 2023, the son of the men's basketball coach at Iowa. He also played for Iowa before turning into a coach. Their romance began in a low-key nobody knew for 4 months. However, Caitlin shared a picture of the two on a boat in August 2023. 3 words only, finest way to round out the summer. Then everything was different. The internet exploded. All of a sudden, Caitlin was more than just a basketball star. She was one half of a power pair in basketball. They continued colloquy. However, Connor shared a birthday homage for her. In January 2025, 23rd, it had the tone of a romantic letter. He referred to her as remarkable and inspirational, saying how fortunate he was to have her. Fans adored it. In response, Caitlin gave it just shared the post herself and said, "I love you." Everyone was told this at that moment was authentic. Then, in July 2025, she sent Connor a birthday message. Although brief, love-filled. "Con, you have a very happy birthday. Every day you make better." She guided Indiana to a decisive victory the following day. That was her way of life. Grace and greatness must be balanced. Their careers were expanding rapidly. Connor turned into Butler's assistant coach. Caitlin's temperature continued to set records. They managed to remain close throughout it all. It was powerful yet not ostentatious. Additionally, despite all, Caitlin had her family. Brent, her father, was also an athlete. He was a baseball player and collegiate basketball. When Caitlin was small, he coached her and immediately saw her uniqueness. Her mom, Anne, was employed in marketing. She managed to stress and assisted Caitlin in navigating the commercial aspects of celebrity. She was pushed as a child by her brothers, Blake and Colin. They strengthened her, more adroit and competitive. Brent attended almost all of Caitlin's. He was constantly in the crowd when she looked up. Upon winning the Namath in March 2023, she won the AP Player of the Year award, which her mother referred to as. The entire family was proud but overwhelmed. October 2023, the Caitlin Clark Foundation was founded by Caitlin. It raised more than $100,000 in a matter of months for the community food pantry in Coralville. It also aided children in athletics, nutrition, and education. Although she hadn't yet participated in a WNBA game, she was already contributing. During a Big Ten tournament match on March 7, 2025, between one picture of Iowa and Ohio State turned the entire internet upside down. Caitlin Clark was seen cheering by a sports photographer named Brie Lurkey from the sidelines. She wasn't having fun. Not that she was mic'd up. She was just supporting her former team. However, the picture quickly went viral. People weren't paying attention. On her smile, her arms were the focus of their attention. There was a change. She glanced more powerful. "Well, someone's been in the weight room." The caption said. The picture quickly reached over 3.2 million views. Everybody had Anne point. She gained 15 pounds of pure American muscle, according to her admirers. One remark made a joke. She appeared capable of benching her own coach. Even well-known athletes joined in. Dave Portnoy was astounded by that. Sports bloggers sparked a nationwide discussion about it. All from a single, basic picture. And Caitlin hadn't even mentioned the most outrageous aspect. Just a little flex and her name trending for weeks amid a cheer. It was not posted by her. She had an attempt to get viral, however, the response was so strong that ESPN mentioned it. During significant broadcasts, that was the volume of the moment. After about a month, at long last, Caitlyn spoke up. She made an appearance on Bird and Terrace on ESPN. Features WNBA greats Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird. The desire for an explanation was shared by all those in attendance. Was it authentic? Were filters used? Did she become a bodybuilder all of a sudden? It was the camera angle, she said with a smile and a joke. AI is letting out of command, come on. The deflection was ideal. Everyone chuckled. However, then she became serious. She acknowledged that she had been exercising regularly. Not just, occasionally I'm trying to get stronger, she said. I kind of like doing that. Thus, Itzy can spend a lot of time there and focus on that aspect of my game with relative ease. And suddenly, the mystery transferred into awe. It was real. It wasn't overblown. It was merited. However, this went beyond simply changing one's appearance. It was a matter of survival. Caitlyn's inaugural season in the WNBA had been vicious. She was stunned by the physicality. She wasn't treated as a newbie by her opponents. They viewed her as a danger. In her debut season, she received 111 foul calls. She became the most fouled as a result, the league's rookie and 11th most fouled player overall. Her average was 4.2 fouls committed in each match. Additionally, a lot of those hits were intentionally harsh and intended to send a message. Everything became quite evident in a single second. Clark was struck by Kennedy Carter with Ash was flattened on the court by a shoulder shot. It was called off-ball by the referees. Initially, but subsequently transformed it into a blatant one. It was not merely a hard foul, it served as a reminder. Later Caitlyn remarked, everyone is physical with them. She wasn't complaining. They get away with things that probably other people don't get away with. She was speaking the truth. As the spokesperson for women's basketball, there was a target and it would harm both her game and her squad if she didn't adjust. Thus, Caitlyn altered everything. She partnered with the head coach of the Indiana Fever, Sarah Kessler. Coach for athletic performance. It was a serious strategy. Between 4 and 5 days a week in Thewitt Room, not merely doing weightlifting. This program was specially created. Activities with just one leg to help her leap off the ground. Using isometric exercise, Touche used to play too upright and get knocked around, so assist her keep grounded and balanced. She even began performing exercises with just one arm. They corrected the weakness in her left arm, which prevented her from making several passes. Hard labor, no shortcuts. One aspect of the program in particular triggered more controversy. Even creatine. Some admirers questioned it, others didn't like it. It's a natural substance though. It promotes stronger and quicker muscle growth. Clark was Allen too. She had no intention of impressing social media. She was attempting to get through the season. Then a subsequent podcast, Coach Stephanie White stated, she immediately realized that she needed to get stronger, and she'd done a fantastic job of concentrating on that. What viewers perceived in that widely shared image was simple exterior. A tale of suffering, strain, and discipline lay beneath. Caitlyn Clark didn't change for the sake of receiving praise. She changed since she was forced to. Since she had had enough of being shoved around. Due to she had had enough of birds that were never called. She refused to be just another name in the news because of this.